LA.B. But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Week 14 edition of the NFL Power Rankings, or as I like to call it, my Power Index. Now, the reason I did this so late in the season is because this has been one of the most fascinating NFL seasons in recent memory. We've got 5 teams with 10 wins or more heading into week number 14. We've got another 2 teams behind them with 9 wins, another 2 teams behind them with 8 wins, and there's 11 teams with either 3 or 4 wins or less on the season. So there's a huge chunk of the population that have really good records. There's a really big chunk that has really bad records. And then there's a kind of a shrinking middle class, if you will, in the NFL. In past seasons, there have been 3 or 4 teams that have been dominant. And then you've had, 4 or 5 teams that stink. And then the rest of the league is kind of clumped in the middle class. That's not the case this year. And what it's doing is it's giving us some really epic matchups down the stretch of this season that is going to determine the seeding for both conferences, and also going to fluctuate this list of these teams that I'm about to give you on this power ranking. As we get down these final weeks of the season, these teams are probably going to be flip-flopping around because some of them play each other. Like last week, we got Ravens hosting the 49ers. I mean, that was a great football game and maybe a preview of the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens, but we've already gotten 49ers and Seahawks. We're going to get that again. We're going to get the Saints this week hosting the 49ers. You're going to get the Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. These are really good football games. Chiefs at Patriots. I mean, that's what this season has set up for us because we've got really good teams playing in this league. So without any further ado, don't want to hold you up much longer than I need to. Let's get to the power rankings for week number 14. And before I do, I'm going to tell you that all 32 teams are listed down in the description. So if you're looking for the other 27 teams that I don't talk about here on the show, if you want to see where they fall in this power ranking for week 14, down in the description, all 32 teams are listed and where they rank in the power ranking for week number 14. But I'm only going to give you my top 5 teams in the power ranking this season in week 14, as this is a fascinating season, as I've mentioned already. Let's jump into this breakdown. And so we're going to start with a team that I haven't been the highest on this season at all times, but I know who they are. I know what they're about. And so I know not to disrespect them. Obviously, I'm talking about the New England Patriots, who check in at number 5. You'd be foolish to disrespect the B&B winning factory. All they do is win, 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 no matter what. And they've done it throughout their careers. The best we've ever seen in this league. Now on a record pace in terms of consecutive seasons with 10 wins or more. It's now at 17, which is just utterly ridiculous in this league. But that's what they've done, and that's what they've built in New England. And because of that, you have to respect what they're doing. Even though their offense right now doesn't seem Super Bowl caliber, their defense is. And so as long as that defense continues to play, I still have confidence, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the winning that I just mentioned and the benefit of the doubt that comes with it, that they're going to fix the offense. They've got check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Guess who? Mohamed Sanu. They've got N'Keal Harry. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. They just got Isaiah Wynn back. I think the running game may start to have a little bit of an uptick. You're going to see some of those guys that I just mentioned and Philip Dorsett and some of those other guys start to become a bigger part of the offense, that they trust Edelman. And right now, that's all they seem to have is Edelman and James White. They're going to start implementing some more of those other guys like Rex Burkhead. I think you're going to start to see them open some things up, and then I think pass to set up the run. And I think you're going to see this team start to get on track offensively. Maybe not to the point where you're confident in them as a Super Bowl contender, but to the point where they're functional. Right now, they're not even functional offensively. They'll figure it out. I have the confidence that they will, and that defense gives them an opportunity to try to figure these things out on the fly. They're 10-2, not because of their offense, but because of their defense. And because of that defense, the Patriots still garner enough respect to land at number 5 on my power index. So you get to number 4 on this list, and it's the New Orleans Saints. Here's a team that easily could be higher on this list. And if you would have asked me 4 weeks ago about this power index, the Saints would have been much higher, probably somewhere around 2 or 3. However, their defense has had somewhat of a precipitous drop-off since about week number 10. And I don't know what happened precisely. Like kind of that bye week, they didn't come back the same defensively to me. They had to let down versus the Atlanta Falcons at home, and then Carolina was able to rack up a ton of points. I thought Tampa Bay really moved the football effectively the week prior to Carolina scoring 30 points and almost winning that football game. And so I just haven't been blown away by the Saints defensively like I was earlier in the season. Almost out of necessity when Teddy Bridgewater was in the lineup, this defense was lights out. And maybe because they knew they had to be with Teddy Bridgewater in the lineup. I don't know. But they haven't gotten back to that place quite yet. However, the offense is still good. Michael Thomas is still on a record-setting pace to set records in both receiving yards and catches this season for the Saints franchise. And he may set the NFL record for most catches in a season by any wide receiver for a single season. So Michael Thomas is playing at a ridiculous level right now. We know what Alvin Kamara is. And you're seeing guys step up. Obviously, Taysom Hill has become a bigger part of the offense. He did it all for them on the Thanksgiving night win versus the Atlanta Falcons. He blocked a kick. He had a receiving touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown. So this Saints team is dangerous. Drew Brees is getting healthier and healthier by the weeks. They need guys like Marshawn Lattimore to stay healthy. They're much better defensively when he's in the lineup. And Cameron Jordan is quietly putting together a defensive MVP type of season. This Saints team, if they can get back to playing the kind of defense we saw earlier in the season, they can elevate themselves on this list. They got a huge test coming up in week 14 at home versus San Francisco. That could determine who the number 1 seed is in the NFC. So that game is going to determine where they end up falling on this list next week. We'll see. But right now, the Saints sit at number 4. As we get to number 3 on the power index, and it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks. Now, for Seahawks fans out there, they're saying to themselves, hey, we beat the Saints. Why are we, they didn't beat the Saints. The Saints beat them, and the Saints fans may be saying, hey, we beat Seattle. Why are they ahead of us? They're playing better football than you right now. Okay, as I see it, they're playing better football than you. Doesn't mean that if these two teams meet later on in the season or even in the playoffs, doesn't mean that the outcome will be Seattle over New Orleans. But as of right now, week 14, Seattle's playing better football to me than that of the New Orleans Saints. Right now, the Seahawks are on a nice little win streak. They're playing great complementary football. I don't necessarily love their defense. I've talked about that. That's the one part of their team that really worries me. I watched the game on Monday with the Minnesota Vikings, and I thought they were able to move the football effectively. You take a 34-17 lead late in the third quarter, you're not supposed to be fighting for your life late in that game to hang on if you're a 10-2 ball club like the Seattle Seahawks are. So they definitely have some issues, gave up some big plays in that game, allowed the Vikings to scratch and claw their way back. They've been in some dogfights this year, even at home. Home doesn't seem like what it used to be for the Seattle Seahawks, but it doesn't matter. Home, away, they seem to find ways to get it done, and a large part of the reason why is their MVP candidate in Russell Wilson. Dangerous Russell Wilson is playing like an MVP. And honestly speaking, if there were co-MVPs this year, I wouldn't have an issue with it. He's playing that well. He's elevated the play of the guys around him. Remember, this is a team that they've kind of put together on the fly. They just went out and got Josh Gordon off of waivers. DK Metcalf is a rookie, and he's kind of learning on the fly. You got guys like David Moore who are contributing, who weren't big contributors in the past. So this is a team. Jerron Brown is a guy that was giving them something early, hasn't given them much of late, had his first catch in about 5 or 6 weeks on Monday night. This is a team that's trying to figure things out. And this is how you know that Russell Wilson is the captain of that ship. And they're winning games because he's putting this team on their back. And also they have a stellar run game. Don't forget about that. Rush for over 200 yards in the win on Monday night versus the Minnesota Vikings. But we didn't hear anything from Tyler Lockett, who is their best wide receiver on their team. and yet they still put up 34 points and won the football, or 37, and won the football game. That tells you all you really need to know about this this Seahawks team and where they are right now. They can run it with the best of them in this league. They're physical up front. And Russell Wilson, when given time, and even when he gets out of the pocket, is deadly with the football. He uses his legs to extend plays, but when he's in the pocket, he's just as deadly. And so this Seattle Seahawks team right now playing outstanding football, and they come in and they have catapulted themselves up to first place in the NFC West with one more game at home versus those same San Francisco 49ers. Sitting at 10-2, the Seattle Seahawks come in at number 3 on the Power Index. Checking in at number 2 on the Power Index is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I get it. They're actually trailing in their own division. How are they ahead of the Seahawks, who actually went to San Francisco and beat this San Francisco 49ers football team? The answer is really simple for me. The 49ers should have won that football game, had a kicker that absolutely shanked a kick in overtime. Honestly, it should have been a tie at that point. You look at your situation, and I think Kyle Shanahan probably should have played for a tie. He decided to go for the win, and it backfired on him. But all of that notwithstanding, they had massive injuries in that game and guys making a ton of mistakes. Not to make excuses for the 49ers, the reason I have them ahead of Seattle is really simple. Their defense travels. We saw what they were able to do in a nasty climate game on the road against Baltimore and the most electrifying player in the league. And look, Lamar Jackson had over 200 yards of total offense by himself, but his passing numbers were not up to par. And honestly, a lot of his rushing numbers came in the first half of that game. The Ravens scored 3 points in the second half of that game, and the 49ers were dominant defensively and ran the football all over what is a very quality Ravens football team, which tells me they can run it against anybody in this league, anytime, anywhere. This 49ers team is dangerous, and now that George Kittle is healthy, which the Seahawks did not see the first time around, this makes them a much more dangerous team than Seattle at this very moment. That defense, coupled with the ability to run the football, makes me feel comfortable taking San Francisco and putting them in any environment and feeling like they can come out on top. Thus, the San Francisco 49ers sit at number 2 on my NFL Power Index. As we get to the number 1 team, you already know who it is. It's, of course, the Lamar Jackson-led Baltimore Ravens. This team right now playing out of their gourd. Lamar Jackson is leading this team to heights that we didn't think the Ravens were capable of this season. I don't think anyone had the Ravens being this good this season, but Lamar Jackson's play has elevated this team, given them confidence. Remember, this is a Ravens defense that did not look up to par with the way they've been playing the last couple of seasons. Yes, they lost a ton of guys that were impactful on that defense. C.J. Mosley gone, Zadarius Smith gone, not to mention, other guys like Eric Weddle gone off that defense. So this defense was severely impacted by a lot of guys leaving in free agency, yet here they are playing good defense. Why? Because the offense has taken the pressure off of them. Earlier in the season, this defense did not look good. They needed time to mesh and gel together, but they also needed help from the offense. They're getting that in spades now with the way Lamar Jackson is playing. He's revolutionizing the way the quarterback position is played. And it's funny to say that because in this day and age, it's hard to revolutionize any position in this league, especially the most important one at quarterback. But it's rare to see a guy play the position the way Lamar Jackson is playing it right now, and at the level that he's doing it, and the consistency with which he is doing it. And because of his play, because of an improved defensive attack, and a kicker that seems to be on track to make the Hall of Fame, this is a team right now that I feel like no one wants any parts of. I think they're the most dangerous team in the league right now, and to me, the most intimidating team in the league, because they run it at you. You know what's coming. You just don't know how to stop it. And then when you gear up to stop Lamar Jackson, or you gear up to stop Mark Ingram or Gus Edwards in that running attack, all of a sudden now Lamar Jackson is able to throw the football to one of 3 tight ends who are excellent, all in their own special way, a fast receiver in Hollywood Brown, and then very reliable receivers like a Willie Schneed. And so when you look at what the Ravens have put together, this is a team right now that just seems to have everything that they need to be able to get it done in the crunch and down the stretch and into the postseason. The type of defense and the rushing attack that they have will stand the test of time in January and into February possibly. And so this is a team right now in inclement weather, in fair weather, in cold weather, in warm weather. We've seen them in all climates. We saw them out in L.A. We saw them in Baltimore in a rainstorm. We've seen them in harsh climates. We've seen them in fair weather climates. This team is an equal opportunity offender. And right now, they sit at number one because they're on an 8-game winning streak. And they've defeated just about everyone that's been put in their way, including the number 2 team on this list and the number 5 team on this list and the number 3 team on this list on the road. So, again, they are the team to beat in the NFL right now. And so, for me, and my power index, the number 1 team in the league as we head into week 14 is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm your man, Louie T, about to sign off out of here. But before I do, I want to give you a couple of bolos, all right, teams to be on the lookout for as they could pierce this list as early as next week. The Houston Texans, who had a big win over the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football, they get to host the Denver Broncos, a team that they should be able to handle at the crib before setting up with 2 massive matchups, the first of which on the road at Tennessee in 3 weeks. And so they got Tennessee in week 15, then again in week 17. That probably is going to decide the division at home. They have a chance to crack this list if they take care of business and a team like the Patriots potentially falls in week number 14. Another team that has a chance to jump onto this list and probably more directly is the Kansas City Chiefs, who sit right now in my power index at number 6. This is a Chiefs team that we kind of brushed them off to the side with the Mahomes injury, and they've had their issues, 3 straight home losses at one point this season. Not looking like the Chiefs team we were prepared to see this season, but they're getting healthy. Mahomes is playing better, but more importantly, this defense is starting to figure some things out. Mahomes did not play his best game versus the Oakland Raiders, yet they put up 40 and the defense was dominant. Look out for the Kansas City Chiefs as they're starting to play their best brand of football towards the end of the season, which could bode well for them and spell trouble for the rest of the AFC. They've got a massive matchup on the road at New England in Foxborough come Sunday afternoon. That's going to determine a lot in terms of this power index next week. So again, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. If it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content, and check out the Louie T Network podcast. New episode coming at you on Fridays. See you next time. You guys have a good one. This has been the Louie T Network Power Index for week number 14 in the National Football League.
Louie T Network.